The shooting range. In this episode, pages of history hunting the Friedrich. Triathlon comparing early MBTs. And metal beasts. A modernized Argentinian tank. Today, we'll talk about another addition that came with the Raining Fire update. The TAM-2C light tank found in the German tech tree at BR 9.3. It was designed by the German engineers for Argentina and later modernized by the Argentinian army. It was equipped with new electronics and an electric turret rotation drive. Its 105mm gun has elevation angles between -7 and +18 degrees. And of course, there are two 7.62mm machine guns as well. The gunner and commander can use thermal sights, while other modern conveniences include a radar warning system and smoke launchers. The engine compartment is found in the front of the vehicle next to the driver, with all the other 3 crew members sitting in the turret. As much as with any other light tank, your best friends here are your speed and your gun. Since the armor will barely give you enough protection against heavy MGs, so try to avoid your enemy's sights at all times. Thankfully, this tank's mobility is high enough for that. It can speed up to 75 km per hour on a good road, both forwards and backwards. Such a speed enables the TAM to get to the best positions on the map earlier than others and catch some enemies unaware. Still, it's preferable that you keep a long distance to your enemy, and not just because this Argentinian machine won't survive long in the front lines. No! This tactic will help you make use of the laser rangefinder, thermal sights, and good elevation angles. There's another thing about this machine that deserves a mention. The DM63 APF SDS. It can penetrate up to 240mm of armor inclined at 60 degrees from a kilometer away. An outstanding performance for this caliber. You won't even need to look for vulnerable areas on most tanks at BR 9.3. Just don't forget to change your positions often, so that next time you leave cover, your enemy won't be ready for it. Hills will be your favorite place to stay. You'll be able to find your enemies with your thermal sights in the binoculars, as if peeking around the hill. And since this tank's class is light, you can also use the scouting ability. By using it, you will both help your allies and get additional experience for each hit on the marked target. Summing up, we can say that the TAM is one of the most advanced light tanks in the game. The engineers managed to combine both firepower with good maneuverability and basically cram the vehicle with a whole set of useful tech. The Friedrichs. During World War II, all Allied engineers desperately wanted to capture at least one such plane, and even a badly damaged one. They knew full well that it was impossible to achieve such great flight performance by simply polishing the aerodynamics of the previous Bf-109 modification, the Emil. The Friedrich had a new engine under the hood and a new, more advanced autocannon in the propeller hub. Oh, how they wished they could get to it. So far, the only machines they could get were a couple of early F1s and F2s, the transitional models. They looked like the Friedrichs, but were very much Emils on the inside. All the while, the most advanced and powerful modification, the F4, had always been slipping through their hands. And then they got lucky. The Allies had captured one, and more than that, they got the pilot too. Here's the story. Second Lieutenant Viktor Radkevich was paying his moral debt to his comrades. He had made a mistake while escorting the DB-3 bombers on his I-16 when he chased a German pilot, feigning a fatal hit. The chase resulted in the German plane breaking away and the bombers suffering heavy damage from a second group of Luftwaffe fighters. So, on the 26th of March 1942, Radkevich was doing his best at preventing the Messerschmitts from getting close to the SB-2s. And what a hard task it was. There were only 2 donkeys, as they were calling the I-16s in the Red Army, covering the bombers against 6 German pilots on their newest, fearsome Friedrichs. One attack was coming after another. The only thing the slow I-16s could do was try to cut the Germans off with barrage fire. But during the 3rd attack, one of the Germans, Lieutenant Heinz Fröser, made a mistake. He came too close, and the Soviet fighter fired all 4 of his machine guns at him. His damaged radiators started spewing thick streams of steam. Radkevich was tempted to chase and finish him, but he knew he couldn't. He absolutely had to escort the bombers to a safe area defended by AA guns. And when that was done, all that the Germans could do is go back with no new victory marks. All the Germans but one, flying the damaged Friedrich. No matter what he did, he lagged more and more behind. He would have crossed the front lines, but for Radkevich, who aborted the landing and decided to chase the damaged German plane while flying his last gallons of fuel. The German had to maneuver on a damaged plane alone and of course posed little threat. He was soon forced to land in a field when his engine stopped, and he did it well enough, only bending the propeller a little. The second lieutenant ran out of fuel and ammo and landed next to him, promptly capturing the surprised Fröser along with his newest Friedrich. When the news of what kind of fighter had just been captured, almost undamaged, broke through, it made a big stir. The Western Allies were flaming about getting this Friedrich for research. And, they actually got it. Although it wasn't exactly this one, just a couple of weeks later, a couple more Friedrichs lost their way and had to land in Soviet-occupied territory. That's how the Americans got one for themselves. As for Heinz Fröser, he got back to Germany in the early 1950s and had a long, happy life. Some researchers, though, still consider him to be MIA. There were too many questions about the actions of his fellow pilots on the day of the attack. Why did they leave him behind? Why didn't they cover him? Why did they let a simple Soviet second lieutenant capture the newest Friedrich? Seems like we'll never get to the truth unless we invent a time machine and go back to that day ourselves. A little while ago, we promised you to compare early MBTs of different nations. Well, it's time to welcome the contestants. First, the American M60, the German Leopard 1, the Soviet, the BR asks for the T-54, but it doesn't actually belong to the MBT class, so let it be the T-62. The STB-1 from the land of the rising sun. The French crew will drive the 1972 modification of the AMX-30, the Italians, the OF-40, and the last 2 contestants are the Centurion Mark 10 from Great Britain and their Swedish counterpart, the STRV-101. Or, as I've been corrected, the STRV-101. The first leg of this competition is, as usual, a race across sand, snow, and marsh. Let's go! The German and the Japanese crews dash forward. A little behind them are the Italian and the French machines. The Soviet tank isn't far away either, while the American, the British and the Swedish machines are lagging behind. The sands only increase the gap between the fastest and the slowest. No change in the snow, it seems. The STB receives a small advantage in the marsh, only to lose it again close to the finish line. The French, German, Italian and Japanese crews finish almost simultaneously. Much later, we see the Soviet tank finish, then the American, and finally the Centurions. In the second trial, we'll check the frontal armor on contestants. We'll use the T-55A tank shooting APCBC rounds this time. The German Leopard is the first to embrace the test and instantly fail it. Its armor simply can't protect against a 100mm APCBC round. Centurions fare a little better. They can survive a hit to the upper front plate, but that's it. Maybe the French AMX will do better? Its upper front plate has a good angle, so the AP round simply ricochets off it. Oh, wait. It ricocheted right into the turret and pierced that one instead. As for the American M60, the hull is pretty well protected against armor-piercing rounds, but the mantlet and the turret armor around it are easy to penetrate. Moreover, it has a large, almost unprotected commander's cupola. Now, the Japanese is next. The round couldn't penetrate the lower front plate or the lower part of the upper front plate, but anything above that, and the tank is toast. With the turret, the penetration is mirrored. It's easy to penetrate the lower part of the mantlet, but anything above the gun holds a hit well enough. The OF-40 finally shows us some decent armor. The only vulnerable part of its front is the LFP, while the turret's vulnerability is limited to the mantlet. Moreover, even if you successfully penetrate this area, you'll need more than one hit to destroy the tank. Finally, the Soviet machine. Its armor is completely invulnerable to the APCBC. The only weak area is the gunner's optics. The third stage is the shooting range. Here, we'll see how well the tanks can handle two targets at a distance of 1 kilometer. The T-10M heavy tank while standing, and an anti-aircraft vehicle while moving. Let's go. It takes only one shot for the T-62 to handle it, since the APFSDS has a greater penetration rate and beyond armor effect. Those contestants that only have heat rounds have to make more than one shot. The British and the Swedish crews encountered difficulties though. They had to carefully aim at the LFP to do any damage, and while they're still trying to handle the first target, the T-62 and the STB-1 are already done with the trial. Their two-axis stabilizers help them hit the second target while on the move. The OF-40 is the third to report mission accomplished. Its elevating system is faster than others here, which makes shooting on the move a little simpler. Other contestants have to spend more time, though. Let's sum up. The third place goes to the Italian OF-40 for its great speed and good armor. The second place goes to the Japanese STB-1. It's just as mobile as other early MBTs, but boasts a gun stabilizer, which makes this tank perform much better in action. Finally, the winner today is the Soviet T-62. Thanks to an outstanding protection level as well as an APFSDS rounds, this tank is an extremely dangerous enemy at any distance. Well, now that we've found the winner, it's time to answer some of your questions. The first question was sent by a player called Drew Novak. What is the best way, you would say, to use the FV4005? Hi there. When you drive this tank destroyer, your main problem is the long reload time. So your best tactics will be sticking to your allies in the second line, taking any opportunity to destroy enemy tanks. It's in the name after all. Make sure your aim is sharp, since there's little chance you'll get a second shot. Dogs Wood and Random asks, why do some high-tier vehicles have battle cruise control? Hi there. Many anti-tank missile carriers can't fire while driving at maximum speed. That's why the game offers a special little battle cruise control for them. This function won't allow you to drive faster than the speed at which you can launch a missile. Another question comes from Pinocat. How to use schräge Musik efficient? Hi Pinocat. The weird music is best used for its implied purpose, which is shooting down bombers. Once you spot a target, dive around a kilometer below it and start blasting when you see its belly. Most bombers have little to no defense against targets below them, which makes them easy prey for weird music. General Rommel writes, my friend complains about the letters that are too small. How can he change that? Hello there, General Rommel. You can change the UI if you go to the Options, Main Parameters, and find UI Scale there. And the last comment for today was written by Private Smasher. Bruce, can you give a guide in advance to the Rhine? Hi there, Private. We're actually planning to tell you all the tactics on this map in one of our next episodes, so don't you dare miss it. Once again, that's it for today. You've been watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment, and the next episode will premiere the following Sunday at 4 p.m. GMT or noon Eastern Time. Come on, you guys, subscribe and click the bell if you don't want to miss our next videos. They are worth it. Don't forget to leave a like, share your thoughts and comments, and have you been naughty this Halloween? See you next week.